Hello, welcome, I'm Chris, and today I have a very exciting video. So if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen me freak out about a musical or two. I've been into musicals since I was about 14, that's when I started listening to Hamilton. Don't judge me, everyone starts with Hamilton nowadays. I haven't exactly listened to a whole bunch of musicals. I have very specific taste in musicals, and that taste is weird. Like, it's not that my taste is like odd and all over the place, it's that I like weird musicals. Like, I like weird books. I don't know how to put it into a succinct way, but you will get the gist when I start actually talking about the musicals. So today I will be recommending books based on my favorite musicals. It's in the same vein as those, if you like this book, you will like this book videos, but obviously it will be with musicals instead. The first musical I have is Ghost Quartet. Ghost Quartet is a musical written and composed by David Malloy, who is one of my favorite musical people. Pretend that made sense. It's a musical that's pretty hard to explain, but I'll try to do it anyway. It's basically a retelling of Snow White and Rose Red, but there's also reincarnation and immortality and talking bears, which I suppose is all pretty normal for fairy tales, but Rose Red was betrayed by her sister, Pearl White, and the man she loved. In order to get revenge, she ran into the woods and sought the help of a bear. As payment for killing the man she loved and turning her sister into a crow, the bear asks Rose Red to find 4 items. In order to find these items, she goes across multiple lifetimes. So if you haven't listened to Ghost Quartet, I'm gonna say a sentence that's either gonna sell you on the musical or you're gonna be like, I'm never ever listening to that. In the House of Usher timeline, Rose steals herself from herself after pretending to be herself's sister. For this musical, I chose Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Her Body and Other Parties is a collection of short stories, and it is described as speculative feminism. These stories can be quite weird and quite jarring, and there's no really shying away from how disturbing it can be, and if you know anything about Ghost Quartet, it's a lot like that too. Ghost Quartet is a lot like a bad acid trip, not that I have any experience with that, and Her Body and Other Parties is a trip too. They both have very similar vibes, and they can get quite weird in similar ways. An honorable mention for this is You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. Next up is Hadestown. Hadestown is a musical by Anais Mitchell. It is a retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice that is both historical fiction and post-apocalyptic. The realm of Hades is reimagined as Hadestown, a coal mining town where workers are stripped of all their rights and seen only as workers. This was clearly inspired by the Great Depression era coal mining. I believe it was Great Depression era, don't hold me to that. This was the musical that was easiest to come up with a book for, like I barely even had to think about it. When I was reading this book, I couldn't help but think about Hadestown and how similar they were. That book is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Red Rising takes place in a world where life in space has finally been achieved. However, humans are now in a caste system that is organized by color. Darrow the Red, the lowest caste, and by default he is a miner. However, he's chosen to infiltrate the Gold, the highest caste in the leaders of society, in order to help bring them down for the revolution. Now, this is the first book in the series, and I've only read the first book so far, and I do plan to continue on, I just haven't had the time. I definitely get Orpheus and Eurydice vibes from Red Rising, but I honestly didn't even put that together until I started typing everything out. Instead, I chose this because they both focus on people that are in the lower class and how they are exploited by the upper class and attempts to change that, and how bad one is by violent revolution and one is by playing your guitar. I know Red Rising is a somewhat polarizing book, but I do think if you liked Hadestown, you will, in the very least, enjoy this book. An honorable mention for this was The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. Our next musical is Falsettos. Falsettos is a musical by William Finn and James Lapine. It focuses on the complex nature of love and family and how religion, specifically Judaism, affects them. It takes place in the late 70s and the early 80s. It focuses on Marvin, a gay man who has left his wife or his lover with her. It also details Marvin's strained relationship with his son Jason, his toxic relationship with Wither, and Trina's attempts to move on and deal with how Marvin had treated her. It's honestly a lot more complex than that, but if I don't want to be here for the next hour, I'm gonna leave it at that. For this, I've chosen Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Like Falsettos, Little Fires Everywhere focuses on the nature of family Particularly, it focuses on motherhood rather than fatherhood, but that's besides the point, really. It is also character-driven, much like Falsettos is. There's a plot, of course, but it really is not the focus, and the character that really would make both the musical and the book shine. I admittedly struggled to pick a book for Falsettos. I wanted to pick something that encapsulated the gayness, the family, and the religion, but I couldn't find something that did all three, so I instead decided to focus on the family. I chose to focus on the family because it is the essence of the story. It all boils down to family. At its core, Falsettos focuses on the nature of family and how that can change and how people can change in or outside of a family structure. Once I decided to focus on family, choosing Little Fires Everywhere wasn't that hard. It is a book that, again, focuses on family, the decay of family, and how familial relationships affect everything in your life. The Prom is a musical by a bunch of people, and I will have their names on the screen. I just don't think I can remember them and say them all without messing up. Emma, a lesbian Indiana, plans to take her girlfriend to prom. However, when the PTA finds out about this, they cancel the entire prom. Hearing about this, Broadway stars that are falling out of favor with the public decide to go to Indiana to get good publicity. So this is a bit awkward. I really loved the prom, and I am in picking a book I really didn't love. It's not that I don't like the book I mentioned, it's just that I don't have any strong feelings about it one way or another, other than it has a trope I hate. For this, I chose King's Queens and In-Betweens by Tanya Botchaju. Like I said, I didn't really love this book, but I do think it is very similar to The Prom. There are some superficial similarities, such as how dramatic and campy it can be, and the fact that the main characters are lesbians in both. However, I chose this more for similar vibes and themes than any specific plot similarities. They feel almost like extensions of each other. And our final musical for today is Next to Normal. One of the two musicals in the past 2 decades to win the Pulitzer Prize, Next to Normal is a musical by Brian Yorkie and Tom Kitt. It focuses on the declining mental health of the matriarch of the Goodman family, Diana, and how that contributes to the family and the family's dysfunction. For this musical, I chose Mostly Dead Things by Kirsten Arnett. This is a book about a lesbian taxidermist who must deal with her mother, who has started making fluid artwork with the animals in their taxidermy shop. She must also handle her brother, who has been left by his wife to raise 2 kids on his own. And all this happens while she is still recovering and grieving her father after she found him in their taxidermy shop after his suicide. Spoilers for the musical from this point on. Next Normal and Mostly Dead Things cover a lot of similar ground. Both are centered around a family dealing with the death of a loved one. Next Normal's case is the death of Diana and her husband's son 16 years ago. And in Mostly Dead Things, it is the suicide of the main character's father. They also pay careful attention to the mental health and the portrayal of mental health within them. They are also both very careful to depict how grief can cause dysfunctions in a family and how grief can affect mental health. That is all I have for today. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share it on your favorite social media if you so please. Bye!